Welcome back to another episode of the Art and Skill of Coaching podcast. Sometimes working harder isn't the answer. And other times, even the most powerful mindset shifts and belief work still fall short. And what happens when both the behavioral and the cognitive strategies fail to move your client forward and they're left stuck or not making progress? Not only is that really frustrating for the client and the coach, but it can lead to doubt and stagnation and eventually disempowerment. So today we are diving deeper into a concept that can significantly elevate your coaching practice. And it's understanding the client not just as an individual with a problem that they are solely responsible for solving, but as a person embedded within an environment that has factors outside of their control that may be hindering, impacting, or could be supportive of that client's desired result. So over the past decade, I've witnessed the frustration, like I mentioned before, experienced by both coaches and clients when results plateau or don't happen at all, despite really hard work, clear effort, intention, and good coaching. And we often end up defaulting to two primary levers to affect change, right? So action and thought, which is really great coaching, by the way. They are essential pieces of the puzzle, but they're not always sufficient, especially with certain client populations. And this isn't because mindset work or behavioral change are ineffective. Do not abandon the heart, the meat and potatoes of coaching, but rather if a client is showing little or no progress after substantial shifts in both their behavior and their belief, it might be time to broaden your lens and really dig deep into that coaching toolbox. Specifically, the need to evaluate and examine and bring to the surface any external, environmental, or systematic factors that could be impeding your client's growth or diminishing their efforts. Now, before we dive into today's framework, I do want to offer a really short but important caveat. This isn't about making excuses for your clients or enabling them or disempowering them, letting them know you don't have control, you can't change, this is bigger than you. That is not the goal here. The goal is not to shift agency or responsibility or choice or power away from your client, but to expand and accurately assess their environment. And that way we both can intervene with accuracy and nuance and in a way that's sustainable. Why? Because humans are complex and our lives are complex and growth is complex, and there's so much more at play than just a client's internal systems, their brain and their body. There are tons of external systems that they are interacting with on a daily basis, which is why I want to teach you the PIE framework today. PIE. This stands for person in environment. So this concept is rooted in psychology and social work. And those of you who've been tuning in for a while know I have a master's degree in social work and I am a licensed trauma therapist. And this is literally one of the first things we learn in our training to become therapists. And what this perspective does, the PIE perspective, is invite you to view your client again, not just as a person with these internal blocks that we need to quote unquote fix, but as a person interacting with and a person that is heavily influenced and shaped by their broader environment. And that environment is really complex and nuanced. It can include things like their neighborhood, the country they're brought up in, the language they speak, their access to education, their earning potential, their career, their physical ability, their appearance, their race, their marital status, their age, their physical abilities, and so much more. I'm actually going to link a podcast episode where if this is really resonating with you and you want to learn more about this, or you work with demographics that might be experiencing interaction with some of those different environmental factors, I'm definitely going to encourage you to listen to it. It's on the implicit bias in the coaching industry. It is a really powerful episode that, again, if you work with those demographics or those populations, I would encourage you to listen to. I'll go ahead and throw the link in the show notes. But when you start to use PIE in your coaching, you will begin to discern and distinguish between what your client has choice over, right? Which are those internal factors like mindset, beliefs, and actions versus what they might not have control over, which are some of those external influences and factors like workplace culture, local dating demographics, family dynamics, socioeconomic conditions, or things like political decisions. But again, what I really want you to take away from this is we are helping a client operate where they have choice, which is where their power lies, not trying to focus all their energy and effort on changing things that they may or may not have control over. And why this matters is because I've seen it. It's unintentional, but it does happen that there's this underlying assumption that's unevaluated in the coaching space that a client's struggle is their fault. It's because they're not working hard enough, or they just need to change their thinking, or that they're self-sabotaging, or that they need to upgrade their self-concept, or they need to learn a few skills. And that may be true. And what also might be true is that there might be some misalignment or friction between their goals and their efforts and the environment they're operating in. And recognizing this helps you as the coach avoid these surface level interventions and really offer coaching that is informed and culturally appropriate and sustainable and context sensitive. That way, the growth that the client does experience is sustainable because it happened in their real life. So let me give you an example, because you guys know I like to talk theory, but I want to make sure that it feels tangible by the end of these short episodes. So this is a fictional case example, but let's take Dina. She's 37, right? She's successful, but she's struggling with dating. This isn't a crazy example, so I hope it resonates. So let's say she hires a coach for some help. That coach might start with the basics, refining her dating profile, clarifying her values, maybe improving some communication strategies, or offer some quick dating tips. And when that doesn't work, maybe you know, okay, this isn't a skill deficit. This might be a mindset issue. Let's go deeper. And you start to explore her beliefs around worthiness, attractiveness, and emotional availability. All really valuable and important things that you should probably do anyway. But if the case is that Dina or your client is still not experiencing any progress, at this point, I think the PIE framework becomes essential, because what this is going to help you do is, as the coach, zoom out with the client and really identify what systems is she operating within. And what you might discover is that Dina lives in a rural area, and that area demographically has limited dating prospects that are aligned with her values. You might also find out that the industry that Dina works in is primarily female dominated and is really demanding, which limits her exposure to potential partners. You might also find out that culturally or religiously, Dina identifies a certain way, and that there are norms within her upbringing that do introduce some friction when she tries to date in these more progressive spaces. There could be more things, but these are just a couple examples of what might come up when you zoom out of the person with the problem and into the person in the environment. And with this additional context of religion, culture, demographic, industry, the coaching becomes more strategic and therefore more sustainable. Because now what's added to the table is you might explore the feasibility of dating outside of her geographic area. Maybe you help her reevaluate work-life balance where she is prioritizing dating and has more time to spend time in environments where her ideal partner is. Or maybe you develop together culturally attuned dating strategies that are more successful for her. And so what I hope you can see with this approach is that these are not excuses. These are actionable steps and insights grounded in your client's reality. And they're more sustainable because they are rooted in the reality of your client's life. And so using the PIE approach, the person and environment approach, it's going to transform your coaching. It's going to deepen the work, and it's going to honor your client's lived context. And your clients are going to gain clarity about where they have choice versus focusing on what's not working and in areas that they might not have control. And this awareness is what's going to foster true empowerment and the motivation and the commitment to continue despite unforeseen circumstances and the inevitable barriers of growth. The PIE framework is such a simple tool. It's such a good lens to have in your coaching. And it's a really powerful tool to bring into your practice. It's going to allow you as the coach to move beyond these cookie cutter solutions and instead really see your client as a person, not just a problem, and offer them personalized, high impact interventions that stick because they make sense in the real world for your client. And if this theory, this tip, this coaching tool really resonated with you, I'm telling you, you would love Coach Question of the Week. This is a free resource delivered straight to your inbox every single Monday morning. So each week, what I do is I share a powerful coaching question, prompt, or insight or tool like the one I shared with you today that you can use within your own reflection or with your clients. I even had one listener recently tell me that she's been collecting them every single week for the past year and now has a document of over 50 powerful coaching tools she can use in her sessions with her clients that have leveled up her calls every single week. So definitely grab yours using the link in the show notes. As always, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, I would would love for you to leave us a review, throw a comment, or share the link on your socials or with your coaching community. And don't forget to hit subscribe. That way you never miss another episode to help you master the art and skill of coaching.